My presentation is about some work that was done as part of the Federal Highway Administration Pavement Preservation Expert Task Group. And the goal of this presentation is to give you some measures against which you can evaluate your own preservation program in your agency. We want you, or I'm hoping, if you remember from the first thing, it said this is an assessment, not a test. This is not, we're not going to all have to raise our hand about how many things did we score well on. No, the idea here is for each person to say, oh, we're doing really good at X, Y, and Z. We could really use to do some improvement on these couple of items and to give you some ideas of things that you can do to really improve your program. So that's the goal. So I'm going to talk a very little bit about pavement preservation programs, just some definitions and purpose. I'm not going to reiterate the definition that the Federal Highway Administration has. That's fine. I'm going to talk a little bit about how the self-assessment tool was created, how it works, and then I'm going to talk about the 11 components of a great program. And what I'd encourage you to do is if you really start listening and you think of something, that's an idea, we have some work to do there, just jot that one or two down, and that will have served the purpose of the presentation very nicely. And then finally, the conclusions on how do you put the results to work. I'm not going to go through this, but this picks up the same elements that you heard in Mindy's FHWA definition. We're going to be applying cost-effective treatments when the road is in fair to good condition, i.e. to maintain a state of good repair, in order to prolong the amount of time before we have to do a very costly rehabilitation or reconstruction project. So the longer we can put off those high dollar treatments, the better, the lower the life cycle cost is overall. And just so you know, for some reason in the last couple of years, they've taken to calling this treating at the top of the curve. And it really is just as the deterioration goes from a level of 100 down to condition that you would call poor, it follows a characteristic S curve. The top of the curve is the very first curve in that S shape. Why does preservation work? Well, it turns out you don't get to start your network with a whole 100% of your roads in excellent condition, and then all you have to do is just keep them there. We all know that right now in your system you have some roads that are excellent, some that are new and excellent, some that have been around a while but are not badly deteriorated, some that for whatever reasons could use some help, and some that you would qualify as poor. The trick of pavement management system and asset management system is how do you manage to maintain the system health of all of these roads without pouring all of your money into any one pile? We found the hard way in the United States that the least cost-effective approach is to put all of your money into the roads that are in poor condition. You will spend so much money repairing those poor condition roads that the number of roads that fall from fair to poor exceeds the number that you're able to bring out of the bottom of the barrel. So that is the whole message of preservation, is keep that pile of roads that are in good or the top of fair condition, keep those there, and then whittle away at some of the others as funds allow. It's a very different philosophy than what was practiced in the United States for many years. We started out, we were going to do a top 10 list. Top 10, sort of like David Letterman, you know, but Pavement people, we are not David Letterman. You know, I'm not going to come in here and go, number one. You know, no, we're not going to do that. I couldn't pull it off. We started off, though, we'll come up with 10 things. Seemed like a good number. Well, in the end, we ended up with 11, so just sue me. But we did some brainstorming. Everybody threw some ideas in. I kept track of them all. And then we sent out a survey. Do any of you remember being asked to rank 10 things or 5 things? Pick 5 things that you think characterize a good preservation program. I know when I was with a state agency, I got so many surveys that I could not have remembered 2 years back. But this was about 2.5 years ago. Nevertheless, we surveyed all of the partnerships to get people to pick which things they thought were most important. So this is not Judy's opinion, it's not the National Center's opinion, it isn't academia's opinion, it is essentially state agency opinions about what makes a strong, a world-class preservation partnership program. For each slide, if we were keeping score, you would rank each item on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is poor, 5 is excellent. If you like A, B, C, and D, we'll do, E is poor, A is excellent. Whatever method you like, it's just fine. Or you can just do the short thing and make a list of the things you want to work on. These are in the order of their priority. So the number one thing by this national consensus, our preservation program has consistent recurring funding. The thing that really can kill a preservation program is uncertainty about what the funding is going to be next year and the year after. Consistent recurring funding allows you to do longer-term planning. It allows you to answer the question when the citizen calls, and you know they're going to call, to ask, when is my road going to get treated? When you have consistent recurring funding and can develop longer-term plans, you are able to answer those questions with credibility. Second most important thing, our preservation program has support from all levels in our organization. The Chief Operating Officer supports the program. He gets it. You don't have to go in there every single year and make the pitch about why this is important. And the maintenance worker who goes out to patch the potholes also gets why it's important to do those chip seals on roads that look pretty darn good. If everybody understands the piece that they play in delivering the program, you have a really good program. Most important for everybody in the room, though, you need to believe in it. If you don't believe in it, that will be conveyed to the people who surround you in your office. So start by you believing in the program as the first step. Number 3, we have a champion for our preservation program. Now, it would be wonderful if that champion was the chief engineer, but it doesn't have to be. It could be somebody who is just a very articulate spokesperson for the preservation program. This is the person who, when the preservation program gets threatened with a funding cut, is willing to stand up and say, this is a bad decision and this is why. That's what this champion does. It isn't just in the good times, this is the happy, cheerful face of pavement preservation. It's the person who's willing to really fight for the program. Now we're getting into more of the more detailed components. Your project solution and selection and execution are based on data. You have proven guidelines or decision matrices, or you use network economics. There isn't just one way that you do this, but whatever way you use to do your project selection, you can explain it both to your colleagues and to citizens on the phone. It's really, really important. When your program is data-driven and your decision criteria is openly available, it eliminates a lot of concern about why this road and why not that. So having that information available, in this day and time with the web access, a lot of this stuff could go up on a web page. Just have it be completely transparent. This is our process. This is how we make our decisions. Your program includes a variety of techniques because your roads have a variety of problems. For some things you'll need to do crack sealing, for others you need to do a chip seal. Some of them may do well with a slurry seal, some may need a microsurfacing for rutting and combinations of all different treatments. If you only use one treatment, you are only treating one problem, and if your road doesn't have that one problem, then you're applying a Band-Aid. We can call it lots of other things, but it's still, you have to pick the right treatment for the road. This one was one that when I was in North Carolina, this became a real challenge for us. Knowledgeable agency and contractor personnel are assigned to every preservation project. North Carolina for many years did all of their chip seal work in-house. Excellent chip seal work. I never saw a road with bleeding in North Carolina for years and years and years. We had a change of administration, and it was decided that all of the preservation program would be outsourced. And in a 2-year period, all of that knowledge left the agency forever. Unfortunately, only part of that expertise went to contractors, increasing their knowledge. So essentially we had agency personnel without the knowledge to do the inspection, and we had contractor personnel with neither experience nor knowledge to be able to build the projects. It has been a rocky 3 years, let me tell you. It's starting to come around because the contractors are building experience over time, as they will, and because the agency personnel have also learned a little bit about inspecting chip seals, but it is a very rocky process. Having knowledgeable agency and contractor personnel is really key to delivering a program that actually performs the way you promise when you make those project selections. You use your pavement management system to track distress, identify current and future preservation needs, and identify candidate roadways for preservation. Modern pavement management systems make this relatively easy to do. If you don't have one of the modern pavement management systems, that doesn't mean you can't succeed at this particular item. When I first started in North Carolina, they sent me up to one of the mountain regions in North Carolina to meet with their county maintenance engineer, or their division maintenance engineer, and he met me at the door saying, "I don't need any damned pavement management system." And I went, "Whoa, okay, nice to meet you too." But then he pulled out on his desk maps, and on these maps, they were the division maps, he had recorded on every road the condition every year. So he had a stack of these maps. I said, you don't need my pavement management system, you have a pavement management system. That was a pavement management system. Now, could he use that easily to develop a deterioration curve? No, not very easily, but he could look back and see how fast is a road going downhill. And that served that particular rural area very, very well. So you don't have to necessarily have the big automated system, though at a state level you really do need it. But I noticed the number of local agencies here. Many of you may be able to do something very acceptable without that level of expense. I think this is really key. Mindy mentioned it. I think it's certainly true. Pavement preservation should be part of your asset management plan. You have more assets than just pavement. You have to consider your bridges. You have to consider your retaining walls. You have to consider your lights. You have to consider all of these other assets. But if you're not considering applying lower cost treatments to keep things in good condition, you will fail at maintaining your system, your infrastructure condition over a 10-year period or longer. So you can do the math. I encourage you to do that. Just go try it out yourself and see what happens if you don't do those lower cost treatments. Item number 9, stakeholders are educated and informed on the benefits of pavement preservation programs and treatments. Your stakeholders are a pretty diverse group if you're in any kind of an agency. Your stakeholders include your legislators and your political office holders. They include your MPOs and RPOs. They include all of the citizen groups and so forth that you come in contact with. So trying to get them so that they understand and really appreciate why you're doing the types of treatments you're doing is key to having them accept the program overall. Item number 10, you have a well-documented material specification for each type of treatment you do. You have testing programs that are clearly outlined, and you have an approval process that's readily available. Why is this important? Well, when a contractor tries to bid on your work, if you don't have this material so that it's very available for everybody to see, that increases the risk to the contractor. The contractor needs to understand what is going to be required to accept the work. If they don't understand, it increases the risk, and that risk converts into an increased cost. So everybody wins if this information is available. This is another place where having this information on a website where it's just freely available is just part of a transparent operation. And I told you there were 11, so we're clearly drawing to the end. The last but not least, you track how well your preservation program, how those projects perform over time, and you modify your asset management plan and your pavement preservation program to reflect the actual performance. It really is key to you being able to close the loop between the work that you do, the money you spend, the performance you get, and how that turns around into your next program. How did you come out? Well, I'm expecting that a lot of the states here had several things, 2, 3, 4 things that they are doing very, very well. Most likely, there's at least one thing there that you went, ooh, yeah, that probably would be a good idea if we posted that online, or we wrote up a decision tree, or some kind of a little bit of providing more clarity. No matter how good or how poor, you can, in fact, always improve on your program. You can improve little processes to get it better. You can improve the number of treatments you're considering, a whole variety of ways. I hope the self-assessment tool can give you one method that you can use to have a conversation about preservation with other people in your agency or with stakeholders. These are the things that nationally people think are what is required for a top-class program. So I'm hoping it will serve that purpose. If you need help, and Dave did a great job on this, I appreciated this, but I encourage you to Google TSP2, click on pavement preservation, and you'll find many resources there. The center where I work, and there are a number of us here, provides both training and certification on pavement preservation. You can email me or any of the other NCPP employees to get more information. And I do want to also point out that ISSA, the Slurry Seal Association, has web-based training on chip seals and slurry seals, excellent training. It's available free of charge on their website. And it actually funnels through the Michigan State website. So plenty of opportunities there. Thank you.
The preceding video was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found at tsp2.org. That's tsp2.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.